Okay, that's a lot better. Yes, much nicer. I should probably do something about this too. Oh, look at that, how perfect. Ah, hopefully this isn't too loud. Well, we'll always be able to check. What a lovely day. Or rather, evening, because it's 7. It's a great time. Tea. Oh, smell. Ooh, delectable. Anyhow, let's see. Nah, I don't need Discord. There it is. Look at it. Look at this absolute mess. Lovable. 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 Lovable mess. Yeah. Ah. Man, I am really... No, I don't think this needs changing. I love this stuff though. This is brilliant. Like, look at this. Look at this. Like, it's so good. So good. Vowel harmony. I love vowel harmony. I couldn't resist taking it. It's like a sweet fruit. You can't resist just, you know? It's understandable weakness. Yes. It is beautiful though. I must say. So nice. Anyways, what do we want to do today? That is a wonderful question. Because I do not have an answer to that. I do know that this is probably the one language I want to work on today. But I am not sure if this... Well, where to do. I have something planned here. Not sure exactly what. I think this is supposed to be an extension of the noun declensions, but for non-native words. So loan words, in other words. Even though it's a fictional language is technically both wrong and right. It's a fictional language because it's no one actually speaks this. I don't even speak this. But it is not a fictional language in the sense that it's used in some book or fiction that I'm writing, unlike some other languages I'm doing. So, in that sense, yeah. But, yeah, this is basically just when there is not a specific word for it in the language, and you need to inflect it in the language, I am going to have something here, probably, for exactly that. I might do something else instead. They're not sure, but that's the plan for right now. Anyhow, maybe I should just do a little walkthrough. So here's the phonetic inventory. It's very nice. We've got labial, alveolar, palatal, and velars. Lovely sounds. As you can see, there are some degrees of allophony, especially here. That will be explained in a bit, but basically take this as it is. It's a simple, rather small consonant inventory. It's pretty neat. No distinction in voicing. Normally, anyways, like, I guess you could technically say, like, this is a distinction in voicing and this is, but it's not really. There's still, like, the more important differences, obviously. What else? Yeah, the parenthesized is just an allophone. W is a specific allophone. We'll get to that. Oh yeah, this is a little funny thing that I did specifically for like a couple words. One that I haven't even implemented yet, really. But in clusters, labial non-occlusives, in other words, these two, are not allowed to share the same place of articulation. So one has to change, usually by making the sonorant a labiovelar approximant. So you'd either have w or w, or sometimes v, but you don't really say see v. That's not something we do here. Out of fun, yeah. Other elephants are generally the result of dialectal variation, yeah. And is obviously just also an allophone. It's an allophone of very standard sound change. I know. I'm not super creative, I guess. I don't know, but it's okay. It's fine. Is the tea ready? Oh yeah, the tea should be ready. Oh, that's good tea. I like this. Anyway, so as we see, like the dialectal thing is basically an explanation of what this language is, and I will get to it eventually in due order, as they say. Speaking of due order, Duolingo, on stream or off stream, not sure. And actually, I should make the stream public, just because I can. Where do we do that? Statistics, blah, blah, blah. Oh, wait, here we go. Visible, public. Lovely. There we go. Now anyone should be able to see this. Isn't that great? To be honest, I don't know if anyone will show up to this when it's actually being sent. Unless I wait. Hold on. Delicious tea. This is really good tea. Wow, okay, I'm actually stunned. This is great. I'm not telling you what tea it is because, I mean, I don't want to advertise, but, you know. Yeah. Oh, such good tea. Oh. Oh. So good. Ooh. I can't believe how good this is. Oh my goodness. It's so... Oh. No, God, I'm getting distracted. Let's go to the vowels, yes. So, the colors I'll explain later, but basically, we have the I, E, or A, or I, E, or A. A and E is possible alpha. We have I or we have U, and we have O or O. Which, these are, as I said, these are allophones. We'll get to how that happens in a little bit. But do know it's pretty... Once I get to the allophone, you'll probably figure out pretty quickly what I'm doing. Yeah, much like consonants, variable factors. Yeah, you can read yourself, but let's go. Also, the name Lunko, we'll get to that. Actually, I should probably add that allophone. Actually, let's go. Let's do that. APA chart. Yeah, fucking let's go. Ooh, so good. So good. Okay, keyboard, come here. Where do we have you? There we go. Nope, not that symbol. There it is. Don't copy the whole thing, please. There we go. Bing, boom, bum. Wait, hold on. I don't need to switch tab. What am I doing? Alright. There it goes. I will add an explanation in a little beanie bit. Beanie? Sure, why not? Tim Pool reference. No, shut up. Anyways, phonotactics. Ooh, this is the fun part. This my favorite part, probably. Yeah, maybe. Actually, no. I like a lot of things I've done with this language. It is actually quite fun. So you have a CVC syllable structure, classic, quite simple. Doesn't really, you know, it's pretty common. Little more rare to have, you know, a coda, but fairly common anyways. But in other words, like, nah, I'm not gonna do a phonetical analysis. You probably know them. So onset, maybe any consonant, classic, obvious, almost. And the word final coda may consist of N, L, or any sonorant. So D, D, or R. Lovely sounds. That's not how to pronounce them, but you know. But any consonant may serve as coda anywhere else. Yeah, it's pretty neat. It's pretty useful. There must always be at least one consonant between two vowels in a word. I've not come up with a specific method of avoiding that happening. I'm probably gonna do it using the semivowels. So yeah, semivowels for epenthesis, pretty standard. You know, basically, y before these, or oo before these, or after. Not sure, but we'll see. We'll see when I decide, whenever that will happen. Did I say in a word? Yeah, I did. Good. Consonant clusters only permitted between syllables. So yeah, all of these, it's only in words, not at the edges of them. Except, you know, these... If you want to be that guy and say that affricates are, you know, consonant clusters, be my guest. I'm not going to analyze it that way. And, yeah, why, that's just kind of odd. But you do you, I guess. Either way, consonant cluster must be between occlusives only, non-occlusives only, except for these, which we'll get to. As yeah, it says it right there. Also, N can also be in cluster with anything else as the, you know, coda of one syllable. But it also has to assimilate to the onset of the next syllable. You know, because that's how you do things. Yeah. Yeah, any following plosive. Actually, what? Hold on, what did I do there? Right, okay, I'll have to fix that. That's not technically correct. That's not what I'm trying to do. So. No. Yes. There we go. Brilliant. Luca follows a vowel harmony system, which is what I want, which is what these colors were indicating before. So basically you can see down here, it's pretty simple. Front, back vowel harmony. Some of you, assuming anyone watches this, but if you do, you might figure out where I got that idea from, especially if you know me somewhat personally. And know some linguistics, you know, fun stuff. But yeah, I'll get to it when I get to it, which was probably be here. Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty simple. Rounded. So these vowels, non-rounded, front, non-low vowels, non-low, non-rounded vowels in the front, a neutral, rounded, the rounded front vowel and the low front vowel are front. There's another term for them which we'll get to later, and there's back vowels, which are their own. yeah. This system is very reminiscent of something, and for reasons, obvious. For specific reasons, which we get to. Now I showed that. Well, we'll get to it. If a consonant cluster is not permitted, you just shove an I in there. It's pretty simple, because it's a neutral vowel. Don't have to bother with any figuring out of vowel harmonics. It's just there. It's pretty neat. And there we go. We have the phonotactical chart, which just goes to show you every single possible consonant cluster, word onset, and word coda. So you can have everything except these consonant clusters, obviously, in the beginning of a word. Anything else is permitted. At the end of a word, it's only N, L, and one of the sonorants. And in the clusters, it can be one of the following. These are the special cases, so z, st, or gw. And I chose gw specifically for one of the influences, as you will see. Also because it's cool, simple enough. And then the vowel harmony. As I said, if you have I slash and a/a in a word, it cannot co-occur with u or o. Allophones. But both can occur, and vice versa, but both can occur with a neutral I and I or eh. Simple stuff. If you understand languages. Which I understand some of you might not get, but we'll probably, hopefully, get a little bit more of an in-depth look at it when we get to it. But yeah, stress. Stress is also going to seem very reminiscent of something to those who know stuff. Good tea. Sorry, getting distracted. So word stress, based on the structure of the word. I just have to read it verbatim because I can't just remember this on top of my head, but it isn't that complicated at the end of the day. If the penultimate, second to last syllable is heavy, CVC, it receives stress. If the penult is light, optional consonant and vowel, stress falls on the antepenult, in other words, the third to last syllable. If there is no antepenult, stress falls on the first syllable, meaning that if, that rules out, or rather that makes stress immediately fall on the first syllable. So it will be, even on single word syllable single, god damn it. Take another sip. So good. If you have a word that is less than 3 syllables long, it will receive stress. It's not like somehow a single syllable word will not have stress. Even though you don't actually have to stress it at all, but we'll get to that too. No. Mouse work properly, thank you. In polysyllabic words, secondary stress falls on the last syllable of the first, or antepenult receives primary stress, or otherwise falls on the first syllable. Pretty sensible. Assuming... what's it called? Assuming a word does... god damn it. A word that is longer than 3 syllables and not stressed on the antepenult. What am I saying? Gosh darn it. Preparations are not my thing, but yeah. Maybe I should try more. Hello. Rexus Skeleton. Do we know each other? I don't recognize your name, but welcome either way. I hope we can make friends. With each other. I phrased that weirdly. I hope you understand. Anyhow, right, what I was trying to say with this is that a single syllable word will not receive secondary stress at all. Well, it will receive stress on the same syllable. If it's a word with more than one syllable, it will fall on the last syllable, unless it is on the antepenult. What? God damn it, no. I'm saying it wrong. Just ignore that. You probably understand, hopefully. Can I add more water to this tea? This is so good. There we go. Tea kettle, or just warm water kettle, I guess. At my command. Stress is indicated by rate and pitch. It's pretty typical for a language. Anywhere, really. Except if you have a tonal language, in which case it will probably be something else. Say, length of a syllable, length of the vowel. In, for example, Zulu, which I speak a little teeny tiny bit of. Though in Zulu, stress is not really, important, since it always falls on the same place. But details. And the primary stress vowel additionally receives allophonic lengthening unless followed by a geminated consonant. If you know what that's from, congratulations, basically. So, anyway. Yeah, I will explain it. It's literally right down here, because, like, if you get these, you get it. Not every word within a sentence is expected to receive stress. Some languages would do that, others don't. Well, okay. Yeah, I'll not say that yet, but you don't have to stress every single word. Primarily prepositions and particles, as it says, don't have to receive stress, because, they're not as important as the, content words themselves. So stressing them would seem a little overly, how do I say it? Overly properly enunciated. The keywords in a sentence are expected to be stressed. You can't have a sentence without stress. That's unbelievably unlikely in anything ever. So, yeah. Other words may be stressed if it is deemed necessary for clarity or emphasis. Like, you could say, he is in the house, instead of, instead of he's in the house. In the situation where saying in specifically, because it's important that he's in, not somewhere else, the house. Yeah. This is basic speaking stuff. I don't think I need to explain it, but I will do it anyways, because why not? I'm having fun. Right, so now we get to the dialects, and if you figured out what my influences for this language are, they will be made extremely apparent here, but just let me sip another tea. Sip. Oh, so good. I love tea. The desert dialects are typically characterized by having a phonetically voiced labial and palatal plosives. That's not how I read that wrong, but you get it. So, they're the ones who do this and this. No, not there. As well as realizing the labial sonorant as w in all contexts. So they also do this all the time. additionally, the low vowel is realized as a. I should change that because that's from an older version of this language where I didn't have this as also being partially low. So I'm going to change that into the low front vowel. However, that's kind of ironic because it used to have a low front vowel that was distinct from another specifically only back low vowel, but that's no longer in the language, so that's something I removed. Because this is not the first version of the language at all. Oh, community tab? Yeah, that's a thing. Yeah, I'll wish you luck on that one. I don't really know what to say about it, but yeah, I have one. I don't know how I got it, and I don't really use it, but it's there. Anyways, the mountain dialects typically realize all plosives as phonetically voiceless, while allophonically S is usually realized as voiced Z between vowels when not geminated. Another thing that you might be able to figure out where I got my influences from, if you know your languages. The labial non-occlusives are typically phonetically fricatives and labiodental. In other words, these are usually these in this dialect. And also we have the forest dialects, in which realizing the labial fricative is usually not realized as a labial, but as a glottal. So instead of f, it's h. No, good old h, as you call them. H, some say, which is technically wrong, but also technically right. So I don't really... It's a thing you can do. It's not that important, really. Also usually realized as the sonorant of the labio... What the fuck? No, I didn't do anything wrong there. I'm just being silly. Usually realizes as a sonorant, true sonorant, and as specifically labiodental, the. So not the, but the, and not w. Hopefully you get that. Hopefully. Obstruents are always realized as voiceless in all environments. I might change that, but I kind of doubt that. Because why should I? Well, actually, there's a reason why should, that's how you say that, totally. And that's because, well, all this language is actually an attempt at hybridizing three languages, which I somewhat speak a little teeny tiny varying bit of. Namely, the languages are, well, made pretty apparent by these names: desert, mountain, and forest. Specifically, this is Arabic. Al-Arabiya. Everyone's favorite. This is Arabic specifically. This is the more Arabic version, but this whole language is inspired by Arabic to some degree. It's also partially inspired by Italian. That's not how you spell that. There we go. Which is the mountain dialect. And the forest dialect, which is inspired by... That needs two N's. There we go. I can say words. So yes, these are the three primary inspirations for my little experiment here. So those who do not know, I will now go to proceed to be extremely unnecessarily pedantic and, what's it called? Not pejorative, but similar. Patronizing. That might be the word. Yes. So basically, the Arabic influence is not super strong here. This thing which I added is actually kind of Arabic. We'll probably have to fix that, but basically Arabic has that, as well as Finnish. Officially speaking, I've not seen any mention that Finnish actually has a velarized lateral. However, in actually listening to Finnish speakers, I'm pretty sure they actually do that in words with back vowel harmony, which is where the vowel harmony in this language comes from. Obviously, the other two don't have vowel harmony because they don't really work like that. But Finnish does, and I love vowel harmony, so I added it. The phonetic inventory is actually mostly like it's basically Italian, but if Italian was Finnicized, if that makes any sense, it's basically a simpler version of Italian. So basically removes all the distinction in voicing, which Finnish does not have distinction in voicing. Voicing. But Italian and Arabic do. But I don't. I liked it without it, so I removed that. Same with the fricatives. Both Arabic and Italian do distinguish in voicing, and you can sort of see that with a trace of that, because Italian, of course, has the V sound, the labiodental fricative, actually, but it's realized as a sonorant because, well, as I said, don't really want to broadly voicing distinguished set of sounds in this language. These two obviously, these three are obviously versions from each of the inspirations. The V is from Italian, the V is from Finnish, and the W is from Arabic. It's pretty simple. The H, obviously Finnish. Finnish doesn't really have F. The Ch is basically from Italian, and the allophone J is because Arabic, at least standard Arabic, which is the form of Arabic that I sort of kind of speak, uses J most of the time. J or J. I don't really like J though. Like, I want this to be plosives, not fricatives, so I don't do that. Same with the p b. The b is because Arabic doesn't have p. That it had p in Proto Semitic, but that shifted to f, so f. It's pretty standard stuff, I'd say. But yeah, the vowel inventory is basically, it is Italian-ish, but with the front-rounded vowels from Finnish, obviously. Arabic doesn't have this many vowels, although it does. It has these three, so it technically has every single vowel in the form of every single harmonic set. It's got one vowel from, so it sort of works. But I didn't want to do a 3-vowel system because, as we'll get into later, that would probably be basically impossible, and I didn't want to use diphthongs either. Nothing like specifically against the diphthongs. It's just like it's a little tedious, and I don't really think I like it. I might reconsider that in the future, but it kind of also interferes with the system having y and w as distinct consonant sounds, and not be, sort of realizations of a part of a diphthong. That's understandable. The clusters is basically inspired by Finnish. Finnish could be said to have ts, and in more recent loanwords have, consonant clusters in the onset. But I didn't really want to do that, so I just skipped it. Easy as. These are all very clear inspirations from, I didn't want to have a too complicated phonetic inventory. Like, technically speaking, I could have a CVCC syllable structure and get away with it, sort of. Though, didn't feel right. You also have the CCVCC or something like that too. But again, doesn't feel right. I think this is much more simple, much more tidy, much nicer, much cleaner, and much more aesthetically pleasing to me, at least. Tea is good for you. So, but basically, these clusters, specifically these of t and st, come from both Finnish and Italian. T, yeah, no, both come from basically both. It says like a phonemic thing in Italian, but I don't think I want to do that for this language because I don't want to have to add another row with affricates specifically. So I skipped out on that. But the word is just so obviously Italian, like it's descended from Latin pretty directly. It's a very cool sound, you know. Labialized velas. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool in general, I'd say. So I added this in because I like it. Simple as. As I said, vowel harmony from Finnish. The restrictions on the word coda, partially from Finnish, partially from Italian. Definitely not from Arabic. Arabic does not really mind having a lot of word final consonant clusters. Like, if you know the Arabic word for Egypt, you know what I mean. More water for my tea. Yes. Sweet ambrosia. Oh, yes. I'm feeling the feng shui. Which I'm pretty sure is not how you pronounce that. Do I want to look that up just to be yes. Borrowed from Mandarin. Right, let's go to the actual page because I want to be as accurate as I can when pronouncing this. Oh god, there's no direction whatsoever. Oh, what? Oh god. Oh lord. Oh my. Ooh. Oh boy. Huh. Okay, I'm gonna try pronouncing this. Wish me luck. And, I did nothing wrong. Feng Shui. Assuming that is actually a tonal mark, which I'm not confident of. Feng Shui. I will say that last pronunciation was correct, and if I'm not correct about that, find my house and shoot me. Why can't I open this guy? I love getting distracted. I am very good at focusing, as you can tell. But yeah, I love me some languages, and these languages specifically, I like them a lot. Orthography here is a thing I was a little bit indecisive about, as you can tell, because on one hand, I think how English spells things is no way that you should actually spell things, but on the other hand, it is also very recognizable So I was a little torn. So I guess I kind of did this. This is sort of my surrender to the English speakers. But I really don't. I prefer this spelling system, even though it is kind of weird. Because, yeah, as I said, don't think English is the best basis of how you should spell things. Because English is based on French spelling, and I do not like French. I like Italian, not French. But basically, as you can tell, these are how you spell the different sounds in the different two orthographies. The Southern orthography is based it's sort of trying to be a compromise between Finnish and Italian to some degree, but there are influences from other languages, Spanish being a pretty clear one. This one is literally just because I didn't have any other characters, but other than that, it is pretty simple. It's not very flexible though, because it's basically only representing the sounds as it's spoken in one specific form of the language and none of the others. This one is way more adaptable, but it is absolutely awful because it's based on English. Largely. Except these two. These are also Italian influenced. But I also, this one, I kind of didn't want to have a bunch of digraphs because it can kind of confuse. This one has digraphs. I'll have to get over it, I guess. I have to cope and seethe about my own fucking language. I feel great about that. One thing this one does, though, that's kind of funky, that I do actually enjoy about it, is that it does, QU for que, because Latin/Italian influence is, ballin'. Oh, the tea is hitting real good. It's giving me the hiccups. Seems to be recording properly too, which is nice. Love that. But back to what I'm actually supposed to be doing, namely presenting this language. Also, we have an Arabic orthography, because Arabic looks cool. I like Arabic. Sounds cool. And, it's neat. It's neat to have a Arabic-based orthography, too. That's a mistake, because I just copied that. Let's fix that. Perfect, it fits. Lovely. But note here, however, that I do not use a single character that is not in actual classical Arabic or, modern standard Arabic, because I do not have that keyboard, and I'm not going to install one just to write a language that I barely write anyways, and I don't think I've written in this once. Only once. And that was not even with a keyboard, but still. I don't want to have to create a bunch of characters that only certain people have access to, and I'm not going to have to force people to download new things. Including myself. However, unlike classical Arabic, this orthography is not an abjad. It is, in fact, a full-fledged alphabet, so we're a little bit more into territories not very Arabic-y, shall we say. But it's quite simple. The characters make the sounds you kind of expect them to, with a few exceptions. Mostly just these two, because, yes, I had to come up with some way of writing the palatals, and what is more palatal than a sound plus I? So ni and yi, basically, but it's also before, the actual vowels, so it's not actually a vowel, but you should know that anyways if you for some reason, speak or write in this language, which if you do, I do not know what's wrong with you, except that you're a fan of mine somehow, and I thank you for that. Even though I just insulted you, but still. Thank you, somehow. Oh look, I'm getting compliments for my little tiny tank. I love that. Wanna see my tank? It's a cool tank. I painted this myself, you see? It's very... Oh god, the paint is so much thicker when you zoom in, innit? Damn. But, to be fair, it actually adds to the aesthetic I was going for, because this is supposed to be, you know, a little bit battered and bruised. It's not supposed to be clean. These are so nice. I love these. See, chipping, the scratches and the shit. It's cool. I like this. I should do a little bit more weathering, I think, but still, I like how this turned out. You can't. I'm telling you though, you can't see like basically any of the texture, like looking at it in real life. This is a camera, obviously. That it's so much closer than you would ever be able to actually see with your naked eye. But anyways, back to what we're actually supposed to be doing. Namely, looking into the grammar, because oh boy, here comes the fun. And by fun, I mean this is a little complicated, which is largely due to it being influenced by Arabic primarily, but not just because of that. Let me take another sip though. Oh, the tea. Oh, it's so good. I can't believe how good it is. Tea. Oh, right. Ooh, my hair. Right, agreement. If we know what agreement is, we will get a lot of this. But what is agreement? Well, it means that words have to agree in a certain grammatical category. What is a grammatical category, you ask? Well, basically anything I say. But most important are these two. And this one's kind of tertiary, but it also plays a role. But basically, yeah, these are most important. Everything agrees with that. But what are these things? Gender. What is gender? Well, in Lunko, gender refers to sex. Most of the time. Except sometimes it doesn't actually refer to sex, namely in non-animate objects. In other words, non-animals. Or creatures, for that matter. But how do you do that? Well, it's pretty simple. Masculine gender can represent males, or it can represent things not naturally occurring. So, the word for male dog is just dog, in the masculine form. But another word which would also be masculine is the word for computer, like the one I'm using right now, which would make it a masculine computer, which is something. And then you can probably figure out what the rest is. Anything that is a feminine gender is a female life form, or an object which is naturally occurring. So, a galaxy, shall we say. That's naturally occurring. Therefore, galaxies are feminine. You can also figure out how to say a funny word with, the dog example before, but we don't need to do that. We're mature adults here. Yeah. Number. Number simple. Number works in English in this language. Isn't that neat? Actually, well, it's even simpler than English, I'm pretty sure, but... well, let's not get into why things are often more complicated than they look in Lunko. We have two numbers. Singular, which represents a singular object, or a set of... a contiguous whole. So, an ocean, while technically being made up of a lot of particles, which are all water and are not necessarily connected to each other, that ocean is still considered a singular entity because it's contiguous. However, well, you could actually say all waters on the Earth are a contiguous entity, but, well, we don't usually do that as human beings because, reasons. If it is not singular, it's plural. So, well, also, yeah. Obvious non-continuity, or uncertain continuity. So, let's say, is a river, considered part of the ocean, or is it a separate entity? Do we represent these two bodies of water, quote unquote, as separate, or do we count them as distinct? Or no, non-distinct. Are they one or are they different? Well, if you're not sure, it's going to be plural. So basically, if you have a river that flows into a lake, that is not one entity, even though it's sort of contiguous. It is of uncertain continuity because it's sort of, but not really the same thing. So it's plural. They're waters, not a water, if you get what I'm saying. Yeah, you can also make singular water, and it is countable, because every noun in this language is countable. Make of that what you will. Finally, we get to case marking. This is probably where the strongest grammatical influence from Finnish comes from, because Arabic really doesn't have any cases anymore. You don't really hear anyone going around using the genitive or the accusative or nominative anymore. You usually skip out on those parts in modern speech, especially, in the dialects, which are technically not dialects. Well, the details. You hopefully understand what I'm saying, and Italian has very little in the way of case at all, even though it kind of does have a little bit of it, but it is not extensive as it used to be in Latin. So basically here is where the Finnish influence comes in, and we have 6 cases, because I am obsessed with the number 3 and anything that comes from it. Therefore, it had to be something like 6, or 9, or 12, but that seems a little unhinged / unmanageable, so I did not do that. I just restricted myself to only 6 cases. Have mercy that I don't add more. Oh Lord God. More tea. Or rather, more water for my tea. I will keep drinking this until the water is out or there is no flavor left. Whichever comes first. But, basically, let's get into the cases. What are the cases in this case? What are cases in the first place is actually more important. It's role marking in a sentence. In other words, what does this object do in relation to the other objects in this sentence? Well, that's what the case says. And in this case, lol, we have the nominative case, which is literally the most common case there is. Sorry, I think I moved that by accident. No, I didn't. I am just silly, but we will not mind that right now. The nominative marks basically if it's a standalone word, specifically a noun, or a goddammit, adjective also would be used in the nominative on its own, unless you're using it for something specific. But let's not hang up on details. It's used for standard words in the nominative. It's the standard form of a word, essentially, even though it isn't. technically because of how the language works. We'll get into it. And it also serves to mark the subjects of a sentence. And some other things. But primarily that. The accusative. It's the object of the sentence, or the patient, if you also will. In other words, well, we'll probably get into example sentences in a bit. This is super unstructured. I have not planned any of this. This is just me showing off what I've done so far. This is not spoilers for anything, because as I said, I'll probably not use this for anything ever. I'll just have it as a fun thing that I have. If I do use it for something, it's not going to be a secret, so I'll just show away for fun. It is all for the lols. The genitive. Technically, English has this, but it's more. What is the term? It's eclectic, so it's technically not like a normal case. So, this is not how you would do it in this language. Just to know, it's not. It doesn't work exactly like English, but the genitive marks the possessor of another object. So, specifically in this case, usually a noun. It could be something else. Actually, probably no. No, we'll leave it like that for now. The dative. Now we get into things that English speakers don't really have as a feature of their language. The dative marks the recipient of a verb that isn't... Well, it marks a secondary sort of object and the verb. There's something that definitively isn't the agent or the subject, but it is also not the object. So let's give it an example sentence in English. I did it for you. The for you bit would technically be dative using this language. You don't need the for in that case specifically, because the for basically conveys the message of what the dative does. So you'd basically just say, I, nominative, did it, accusative, you, dative. If that's understandable, I hope it is. Next up we have the locative. It tells you where an object is located. Pretty clear terminology there. So, for example, at a house, in a house, by a house. You can all use the locative for that. If you want to be specific, there are actual adpositions, specifically prepositions, that you can use, but in this specific instance, you'd probably just use the locative if you do not want to need, or you do not need to be specific, rather. You could be, but you don't have to be, using the locative. You can also use it as, you'd use it in conjunction with other, with prepositions if you actually choose to use them. But you can't use the nominative, accusative, or anything else for it. Specifically just noting that. But you don't have to use prepositions at all because of this case. Last, we have the instrumental, which is my favorite case of any case in any language ever. It is just extremely neat. I think it's really cool. And what it is the marking of someone's usage of an object for the carrying out of the verb, if that makes any sense. So basically, this is the clue case. If you played Clue, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, you just make an announcement as a guess. You know, let's say Mr. Green in the ballroom with the candlestick. There, you could use cases for all of those, by the way. But locative would be in the ballroom, and instrumental would be with the candlestick. Specifically in this case, the instrumental is used for the verb, which is murder. Ooh, such good tea. Anyway, syntax. Primary word order. How do you do that? Well, it's simple. SVO. Very common word order. In other words, subject comes first, verb comes second, and object comes last. Sort of. The primary constituents, at least, come in that order. The, if you want to know where the, dative, beneficiary would go, it's after the object. I think. Actually, I might have to look that up, because I'm not sure, but I'd probably put it there. You can switch around the word order if you want to, because of the case system. It says, you actually don't, you're marking the subject and object and verbs themselves, so you don't actually need to put in SVO, but it is just the standard way to do it. Also, if you want to know where the SVO word order comes from, it's literally all of them. What's it called? Literary / classical / standard Arabic would technically advocate for VSO, but dialectal Arabic usually goes for, or not usually, but often goes for SVO instead. So that's some Arabic influence too, to a degree. Because mainly head initial. In other words, the most important bit of a phrase goes first, with anything else that's not as important following after. Though there are obvious examples of that not being the case, but let's not get into that right now. But in other words, this is why we have prepositions. This is why we have it's kind of why we have the SVO word order. This is why we would put nouns before their not corresponding, but modifying adjectives. So it's not red balls ball red. Classic example. Subordinate clauses follow the main clause to some degree. Though again, you don't have to put them there, but standard you'd expect. And adpositions being prepositions instead of postpositions. That specifically would be more of the Italian and Arabic influence, because in Finnish you're more used to postpositions, but hey, what can you do? Also, that's also the same with the, what's it called? The order of noun and adjective. Finnish is more like English in that, so in that specific instance. Oh yeah, nouns typically preceding their possessors. So instead of my house, it's house mine. That's Arabic. That's Italian. It's not really Finnish, but it certainly is. Actually, I think that's what I was gonna use this for. We'll get into that later then. Well, I'll actually do some work. Maybe. We'll see. I'm not sure if I will do any work. Well, we will just have to see. There is a tendency for switching word order from SVO to VSO in questions. That's an influence from Finnish, and kind of a little bit a nod to Arabic as well. There are other ways also that you do within question phrases. You obviously have question words, which should actually go before the verb, if there is one. But you don't have to do that, but it's how I recommend playing it, speaking it, or writing it, if you would do that, which I again don't think is I don't think that's very likely. It should be noted that this is also reinforced by a morphological change to the verb, so while it is usual, it is not always the case. Demonstratives, the definite article, and numerals precede their nouns. So in other words, yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah. So here we have the actual structure of your phrases. That just removed all the color. There we go. That is what I'm not going to make that joke. This is literally my first live stream, and I nearly made a joke that could probably get my entire channel deleted. That is not okay. So we're not doing that. More tea. But as we see here, demonstrative or definite article, you can't have both. Quantifier and or numeral. So, for example, a good example of this in English would be a few thousand. You have a few thousand. It's pretty wacky you can do that, but you can. And yeah, you can do this here too. But as I said, you can't have demonstratives and definite articles in the same words. You cannot have the. You can't say the man. That's no. That is haram. Well, of course, after then we have the noun, the main important bit. Then the adjective. Then any possible possessors. And then finally, an adpositional phrase, if you so please. Then verb phrases. In other words, the verby bit of the sentence, so the not subject, everything after the subject, if you're working with this order. In this word order, you'd not really follow this, obviously. As I said, it's general, it's not always. So, verb first, then a noun phrase, so in other words, one of these. And then finally, a time phrase, which time phrases I have not developed fully yet, but they're basically going to be used instead of the future tense, rather, most of the time. As you see, there's only past and present, there's no future tense. That will be what the time phrase is supposed to basically replace. Which is basically the case in Finnish, primarily. Though I'm pretty sure Arabic also does that to some extent. But I'm not sure of how they do that exactly, but let us not get hung up on the details. Adpositional phrases, very simple. Preposition plus a noun phrase. So you can just shove one of these in there. Easy peasy. Which means you could technically also have an infinitely recurring phrase, which is something many people have probably told you before, if you're into linguistics. But hey, now I've told you that, you can have a lot of fun saying the man in the forest, in the trees, in the house, in the etc, etc. You get the thing. And then you finally have the order of adjectives, roughly. So color, then size, then weight, then material, then age, then mood, then quality, then other, which could be anything, basically. That is, of course, after the noun. So, ball, red, big, heavy, wood, old, angry, bad, lumpy. Yes. Here's an example sentence. What did this mean again? I am not exactly sure, but it's somewhere in here, I think. Well, it's obviously gonna be in here. The parts are not, they don't exist on their own. But how you would say is nama, tyle, tyypile, gemale, navakisa, nyfitaniten, mypaseni. Mypasesinva. There we go. A little hard. I'm not very good at speaking it, but I'll get used to it. So I'll try one more time. Nama tyle chipile gemale nafina navakisa nyfitaniten nypasesinva. I think I did pretty good there, in that case. Either way, what this means, I've kind of forgotten, but the translation will exist in here. Will I translate it by the end of this stream? I have no idea, but you will find out sometime. If you dare finish the stream, which I mean, good luck to you, but I'm just saying, would I? I don't know. Either way, morphology, this is the bit that is kind of important. If you do not use morphology, you can't make a sentence of anything. Specifically not in this language in this case. This would obviously be combined with syntax, but syntax is not as important as morphology in this language due to, you know, cases existing, so you kind of get how it works anyways. I think the flavor of the tea is starting to run out. Great sadness. Great sadness indeed. Tremendous. A tremendous sadness has come over me. It's really nice, really nice. But it's over now. It is over now. So, verb conjugations. As we can see, there's a generous amount of them. There could have been more. But I chose not to, because I am a merciful creator of this language. Mostly merciful to myself, to be honest, but hey, who cares? As you can see, we have first, second, and third person. Very standard. Most languages have that. We have a singular plural distinction in all of the personages words. And we have a masculine-feminine distinction in the third person only. I could have gone the Arabic route and put them in the second person too, but since Finnish doesn't even have grammatical gender and Italian only uses in the third person, I think it's fair to just have it in the third person. Because, you know, 2 out of 3 languages I used for this do, so hey ho, let's go. Now, there's also imperative form. This not really doesn't matter. Case is not relevant. No, not case. Tense is not relevant when it comes to imperatives because they're they're expected to be future tense essentially, but you know, they're not future tenses and they are the future tense, but you know, when you're saying to someone, go, do that thing, you're not, you know, it's not something you expect to be referring to the past in any ways. Obviously supposed to be an imperative in the present, do something in the future. If you know imperatives, that sounded extremely stupidly obvious, but if you don't, I kind of just explained it. But in the past tense anyways, you know, things that happened in the not now, because it's really mostly actually a past. It should be non-past, but calling it present sounds a little nicer than non-past. It's very vague. But the past, you have perfective and perfective and imperfective. In other words, you have actions you are referring to as they had been completed, or actions you are referring to as if they have not had not been completed. So this is I walked home. This is I was walking home. Equivalences in English, roughly. And in all tenses, you also have a distinction between active and passive voice. which is like all of these things are basically in all three languages, just to note, including the imperative. And the imperative is mostly in Finnish and sort of in Italian and Arabic. Little more in Italian than Arabic. Arabic has like a bunch of things, but none of them are really an imperative per se. But let's not get hung up on the details. The active passive difference is one of like, am I the one doing something, or well, is the thing the one doing or the one being done to? Otherwise, calm down. Is the nominative actually the agent in this sentence, or is he the patient? If in an active sentence, the nominative refers to the agent, the one doing the verb. In the passive voice, the nominative is actually referring to the one being the experiencer or victim, possibly, of the verb. So, in other words, what's a good example? I bound the bull. I tied him up. I tied the bull to the fence, I guess. The bull was tied by me. In other words, I still did the exact same thing, still the exact same thing happening. It's just that now it's the bull we're focusing on, not me. That's the difference between an active and a passive voice. Which, as I said, it goes in all tenses, but not in the imperative, because that would be a little silly, in my opinion. So I just decided not to do that. Also here, this is very important, parenthesize E indicates it's an let me try to say that properly. Epenthetic sound. In other words, the sound is not there unless it has to be. And in this case, it would have to be because the consonants here are not compatible with each other. And also, I didn't describe that properly, but this, as you can, if you know Arabic, you can see the Arabic influence smeared all over this. Because in Arabic, much as in this language, you have consonantal roots, which is an awesome feature. Lots of people talked about it. If you know linguistics, you've probably heard about it, because it is genuinely awesome. For those who don't know what a consonantal root is, I guess I'll just quickly spoil that for you. Here's a consonantal root. These are just 3 consonants. They don't mean anything specific right now. You can't say this. This is not a word. You can't just say milk. That's not a word. You can't do that. But taking these consonants, then shoving them into these spots right here, so we could in this case have melike. Melike means I have. As we see, to have plus the present active singular first person. That's not how you technically should say that, but you understand. So get melike. I have. What do I have? I don't know. We might figure that out. Also note, I don't need a pronoun, because it is already indicated on the verb. I don't need a pronoun to describe that it is I who have something. This is something that Finnish can do, Italian does a lot, and Arabic is also capable of doing. So, pro drop, definitely a feature. You don't have to drop the subject, but you can if you want to. Note only that it is only the subject you can drop. You can't drop the object, because how would you exactly do this? Also, generally speaking, in the third person, you would not expect a you know, you don't know necessarily what it is referring to. Like in the second and first person, you know exactly what you're talking about. It is you and it is I. Except when it's okay, those cases when, you know, exclusive difference exists, but this is not a language I've created which has that. Also, by the way, did I say Italian changes the verb's form based on gender? That's wrong. I'm stupid and I got that wrong. How did I realize that? I just remembered it. It's just the way that things kind of end up. But in other words, this is a more pro-drop language than Arabic. No, not Arabic, Italian in this specific instance, because you can't do that in Italian. Also, Finnish really doesn't like you doing that, especially in the third person, but you can if you really feel like you know what you're talking about. Let's get to nouns. Nouns are fun. Everyone likes a good noun. We're all nouns in a sense, so you know, can't help but love them. But as a case, nouns are declined by case, number, and gender. The lovely triad of specialness. And as we see here, these also work by triconsonantal roots. Can't use the same roots from the I have example because these are nouns, not verbs. So I can't say mulikon. That doesn't mean anything. It would actually be mulikon with a more stress on first syllable there, but teeny detail. Point is, you need a different verb root, not verb root, word root, which you do have some. There are way more verb roots, and there'll probably always be more verb roots because you can easily derive nouns from verbs. Not so easily the other way around. There's also a way to actually change those. As you know, we'll get to that. We will get to that. There's also a definite article. Arabic has one. Italian has a definite and indefinite. Finnish has neither, but since two languages have a definite, I added it. And since they're also very similar, yeah, you can decide which one what's more influential. It's actually more Italian influenced. Let's be very clear about that. Like this is the closest to Arabic, and it's not really that close to Arabic. This is very, very clearly Italian, same as this and this. So it's more Italian influenced, but it is also a little bit like a wink towards Arabic, if you will. A wink and a nod. Then we also have the adjectives. Adjectives? That's not bad. Adjectives have a lot more like a lot more things you can decline for than the nouns. Namely, you can have non-derived adjectives, which are just adjectives, if you will. You can also have derived adjectives, which are just verbs that are turned into adjectives, in essence. So, while, what's a good example? You could basically use the verb root for to have again. So, let's say, mu, le, ki. You can have muleki, which means have a, essentially. So the have a man could be a word you could have that, and then you can add that to a sentence. It's a weird sentence, but it is a sentence nonetheless. Because you could also say possessor or yeah, possessor, possibly. It's a little weird, but it works, I guess. as you see, these are very much so simplified. They do not have the full case system, because I do not want to have just a huge row of them. So I just comprised, like, add accusative, dative, and locative get one, and then nominative, genitive, instrumental get another. So these agree. So this agrees with this, and this. Oh, no, not that. This, this. While this agrees with this. Yes. And also you have to agree with number and gender. With the noun specifically, not anything else. That'd be odd. Specifically nouns to modify, obviously. You can't have you agreeing with some other noun for no apparent reason whatsoever. Note one thing here. I've obviously not done the thing that Arabic does, and sometimes have, what is it? Masculine. No. Yeah. Masculine plural. Is it masculine plural inanimates that are inflected like feminine singulars, I think, in Arabic. It's a strange thing it does, but no, this doesn't do that. It's no such this system, because it's confusing, especially to people who don't have a language with gender, like English, like Finnish. And it also just makes my work harder, which I obviously don't want to do, so I definitely didn't do it. Next up, demonstratives. Yes, I love me demonstratives. Why? Because they're basically straight rip-offs of Finnish. The only difference between this and Finnish is the epenthetical little teeny tiny consonants between these vowels. In Finnish, there is no such consonant. Other than that, this is essentially the same as Finnish, except, of course, we have to add masculine, feminine distinctions in here, so the form is slightly different. Even though this is basically pronounced as Finnish would be. This is tämä. In Finnish, it's a little high as a tämä. But other than that, these are exactly basically as Finnish. So tämä, nämä, you could say them like that. Tämä, nämä, it's also acceptable. And these are also basically exactly like Finnish, except for this. So it's tuvo, nuvo. In Finnish, it's tuo, nuo. And these are just, taken from these, just replacing the vowels. Because as you notice, the vowel harmony and masculine-feminine gender system, they're basically the same. So where you have back vowel harmony, you have masculine words. We have front vowel harmony, you have feminine words. Meaning you could say from a certain point of view that there is actually no vowel harmony, but I would not say that because I just like Finnish. And I want to say my language has vowel harmony. So, yes, accept that as it is. Or don't. I'm not your boss, or your father, or anyone else you have to look up to. I'm just a dude on the internet. Do what you want. I'm gonna do it this way. You don't have to agree with me, but I'm not gonna listen to you. By the way, we also have numerals. Love numerals. Because who doesn't like a good number? I can think of a lot of people who don't like numbers, but let's not get hung up on the details. You can see these numbers. They look weird because they are not necessarily inspired by a single one of the languages. These are basically compromises I made using all of them. So this is a combination of Arabic and Italian. You have Italian zero, Arabic صفر. I took a little bit of both and made ser, which sounds very close to zero, even though it really has nothing to do with it at all. Same with vunni, and vunni. This one, in certain dialects, namely the Arabic-inspired one, would sound wunni, which sounds a little bit like one. That's not because it is actually one. It is just pure coincidence. It ended up that way, mixing all the languages together with a little bit of personal, preference thrown in. But yeah, let's count the feminine from 1 to 10 and 100. So, servini tannesi tille antai jinsa syssi setta tamena niseva kiene okchata. Those are the numbers from 0 to 10 and 100. Specifically the cardinals. If you know what the cardinal-ordinal distinction is, you know, but for those who don't, cardinals, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ordinals is first, second, third. So, in an order, essentially, while this is just a quantity, sort of. Or a directional, cardinal, Yeah, I'm making myself sound stupider than I really should. I might be this stupid. I'm not sure. I don't really care, but it is what it is. Pronominal paradigm. These are the pronouns. What do I have to say about them? Except, this thing from Italian, Even though these, this is mine of a masculine, this is mine of a feminine. So in other words, these agree with the possessed noun. So if you have a book, it is mo. More. What would be the word for book? Mokutipo. Or kotipomo, I suppose, technically. Or if it's a tree. I don't know what the word for tree is, but it would be ma instead for more. Also, this definitely, Italian and Arabic distinguish in third person. Arabic also distinguish in second person. I don't want to do that. So, just in the third person. So, that's neato. So, he, she, that's a distinction that even English speakers would be familiar with. That sounds more insulting than I intended it to be, but hey ho, let's go. This I will fill in later. Maybe not on this stream, because I think it's taking a little too much time. It's it's more than 1.5 hours now. I think we've gone for more than enough time. But, yeah, I might do another stream someday. Well, we'll see. Derivation is going to be more extensive, but so far this is it. You can change basically any word into another word class, except for nouns turning into verbs. I've not done that yet, but I am planning on doing so one day. However, let's go through them. Large amount of their own roots. You can just do things with them. You can change the function of a root very easily. The most common is to derive nouns from verbs, yes. Many languages do, English included. You can take a word, a verb root. You just slap one of these on it, and bam, boom. You have yourself a noun, then just shove the rest of it into the noun declension paradigm. So you just have this, then make it nominative. So you just have the verb here. That's pretty cool. So let's say, for the sake of this example, we have the verb to take again, because we've used it before, we can use it again. We first take this, mu, then we add that to the root. We have mumlko, mumlk. And then we shove that into the proper paradigm. So we get mumuliko. Very funny sounding word. I am not going to let haplology destroy that. You could do the same with a feminine, obviously. You do this. And also, yeah, important distinction. Passive, active, much like verbs, much like adjectives, has to be noticed. Can't just do whatever you want. Has to be an active or a passive. You have to make sure you know which one you're using. Otherwise, you might not be the one having, you're the haved. That's a phrasing I'll definitely not stand by. Baba booey. You can also nominalize anything using meh. This is taken from Arabic. This is taken from Arabic specifically, and this is taken from the prefix ma, to which you can add that to a verb, to a word root, and then you can shove that in another vowel pattern, and you have yourself a place of something. In Arabic, you have the mekteb, the office, or, well, could be other things, but office is a usual one. Could also be desk, I think, but either way. You do basically the same on this. You can just take meh, add it to whatever root you want, then shove that in, turn it into a noun, and you have the place of X. You could use a color root for this. You could have the place of red, which sounds like a place I do not want to be in, but it is a place you can be in. Could be the red room. Red room. Oh my. Yeah. You get the point. You can even use it with nouns. Yeah, you can. You can have the forest, for example. You can just have tree, place, forest. Pretty simple. Or garden. Could be garden too. Forest garden specifically. But garden nonetheless. I'm going to sneeze, maybe. Hold on. I feel like it's coming to surprise me. Oh god. My tea. There's very little flavour left in this thing, oh boy. Well, it was delicious while it lasted, isn't it? Sad times ahead, however. No more tea for little old me. Ah. The intensive. This is from Arabic. Very, very Semitic in its styling. Intensives are cool, and I thought I could use them, so I did. You can just intensify words, making them a bigger or better or more important or more intense form of its normal word. So, if you have the word for, I don't know, you have. Yeah. We're not overusing that root or anything. You could say I have as a standard, or you could intensify it by geminating the middle consonant, and suddenly you don't just have, you own, you possess. So, good old melike becomes mellike, which is, you know, better, more powerful. I own. I possess. It's rightfully mine, I suppose. Oh, no, everything's okay. Okay, I'm just a little paranoid. Don't worry. It's fine. Oh, here's a feature I didn't take from Arabic or Italian or Finnish, actually. This comes from, well, I'm just gonna see if I can find the actual language. I don't remember what it's called, but it's an other art lang. It's a kind of, shall we say, a not great one, necessarily. It's an art lang, definitely, because it's artsy-fartsy to the nth degree. But it exists. I didn't misspell that. Brilliant. It's not this one, definitely not. Let's see. Let's look at the whole... It's not that one, it's not that one, it's not that one at all. Which one is it? I think this is the one. I'm gonna try to avoid playing any sound, because I am not particularly interested in, you know, getting accidentally copy struck or something of the sort. Here, artsy fartsy bullshit. Ah, here we go. This language, this is funny thing that I think is absolutely fucking awesome. I apologize for swearing, but I think it is genuinely really cool, and one of the few ideas in this language that I think is actually brilliant, unironically. In this language, you can take anything really, but not in Lunko, but in this language specifically, you can take anything and just flip it around, and you get its opposite meaning. And that, I thought, is freaking crazy cool. So I was like, hey, I'll just copy that as I want. And I did. Here, you see, this is how that works in this language. And I was like, we can do this in this language. We just take the root of a verb, or a noun, or any other word, and just switch the order of the consonants so they come in the opposite order of what they usually do. And I call that root flipping, and that has the same effect as that in essence. It takes one word, makes it the opposite of its other word, what itself. Yeah, it's opposite. You get the opposite of one word from flipping a root. So you can have, for example, MLK, or you could take it the other way, KLM, and that means I don't have, and specifically I lack. You could intensify that, I say, I guess. I guess it's like I am lacking in, sort of. I don't know exactly how I'd intensify not having, but hey yo, it is what it is. Oh dear. The tea is no longer tasting very good. In fact, I don't know, that is not a taste. That is really off. But yeah. Yeah, this is a very more important thing. This is not negation. Negation is just this. You just put n or ne in front. It just negates the word. Where I got this from is basically combining Italian with Finnish. I could have had it to be ne, but since that is the Swedish word for no, I didn't really choose to do that because I felt that would be a little, what's the word? Self-indulgent? As a Swede, you know? It's not necessarily. It feels a little self-aggrandizing, yeah. And I don't really want to do that. I'm just an average man with an average life. I'm not going to sing, no. Shut up. Shut up, voice in my head, I can't do that. Oh, I can, but I don't want to. And my throat hurts, so probably not a good idea. Sentence and word structure. This is unfinished as crazy it is not really worth reading in. The only notable thing is that this language does not have the word for to be. In other words, the copula is not a word in this language. Much like in Arabic, you can, in the past tense, use... Well, you can, in the present tense, use the word to become as a future tense copula, and in the past tense, I suppose you could say what's a good example? I lived. In the present tense, though, there's no use for it. It's very, very pointless to use a copula in the present tense. Anyways, these are the roots. There's a little teeny tiny lot of them. But basically, I got these from very different, lots of sources. Okay, it's just the three languages I used for inspiration for this language. So there's Kernischer is from Italian. Bessese is also Italian. Nessegne, pretty sure also Italian. I'm not really doing a good case, but here's the one that is in Italian. This is so obvious. Anyone who's learned Arabic recognizes this immediately. Shemese, sun, Shems. It's very easy. It would not sound like that in this language. It would never be Shems. Actually, wait, hold on. Could you? No, you couldn't. Why am I even asking? Kamere, also Arabic. It is Kamere. The Kamer? I don't remember exactly, but it starts with the what's it called? Uvula instead of vela in Arabic, but there's no uvula in this language. It's just a K, but it's still from Arabic. Same with this word. I don't remember exactly what it was in Arabic, but it's inspired by Arabic. Also Arabic. Jebel, Arabic. Neveke, Italian. Gukave, Aqua, Italian. Belica, don't remember that one either. Definitely not Finnish, however. That's not Finnish either. That's Italian, Giorno. Yeah, and I remember. Tavola, not sure about. Where do we have any good examples from Italian? No, I mean Finnish. We have a ton of Italian examples, obviously. Nuovo is Italian. Jamila is Arabic. Fayava, I think, was Arabic too. I'm not sure where that's from. Definitely not these, though. Was this Finnish? I think it is. I think this was a Finnish root. Kiitos. The actual root for that word would be with two T's. It's a geminate, but because of how Finnish works, the geminate becomes a single T, a single T consonant. So yeah, it's not in that way specifically in Finnish, but in this language you don't have any consonant gradations, so it's not going to be like that. Inspiration and sources. I should really fill this up, but I haven't done so. And here are some translations. I have removed them all, actually, except these two. Word captured thoughts. Paarili jutuli kuukoti. Yeah, it says what it is right there. Don't think I did anything silly there. No, I haven't. This is also a good one. It's a little hard to read, to be honest. Sin puiucho. Monossignon. More correctly, the stress falls on this syllable because it's the penult and it's closed. But yeah, you can just see the translations, the glosses. Yeah, that's not what those are called, but yeah, they're glosses. I think I've gone through the whole of it now. In essence, I'm not going to translate this for you. If you want to, you can go back through the video, look at the different things I've provided throughout it, and you could probably figure out what it means. But I think this is basically all I have time and energy for today, so I'm just gonna leave it at that, I think. Just need to check where we are. Yeah, we're looking good. I'm probably gonna stream more in the future because, quite frankly, making videos takes a lot of time. So, and I don't really want to do that. So I'm not gonna do that. In simple terms. So instead, I'm just gonna leave it at this. I hope you've had a good day, everybody. God bless you. Have a lovely time, and see you some other day. Bye.